Meet Stan. His life was one that many can relate to, a life cut short by choices that ultimately led him down a destructive path. As we look at him now, it's clear he is no longer among the living. But to truly understand Stan, let's rewind and take a closer look at the life he led. Growing up in a rough neighborhood, Stan constantly felt the need to prove himself. He quickly gained a reputation for picking fights, fueled by a desire to defend his pride. One day, however, he lost a fight, and that defeat left a deep scar on his pride. Rather than brushing it off, Stan felt compelled to seek revenge. He couldn't let go of the humiliation and vowed to make others pay. Like many young men who don't value their own lives, Stan placed no worth on the lives of others. This led him to a devastating choice. He decided to end the life of the person who had embarrassed him, a choice with permanent consequences. Stan lived without a moral compass, and over time he dulled his conscience to the point where he could no longer hear it. In his youth, he had moments of guilt over wrongdoing, but he ignored those feelings until they disappeared entirely. He lived to satisfy his own desires, taking whatever he wanted without considering the harm he caused. When he wanted a woman, he pursued her relentlessly, disregarding her feelings. He was driven by lust, self-gratification, and reckless ambition, living in a way that was increasingly out of control. However, sin has a way of growing, never staying at one level. Whether it's theft, violence, or worse, sin deepens, and Stan was no exception. What began with petty theft evolved into more audacious crimes. Eventually, Stan attempted a bank heist, an act that would change his fate forever. Yet as stated in the book of James 1:15, when sin is fully grown, it brings forth death. Stan's life of crime, violence, and indulgence finally caught up to him. He paid the ultimate price for living without restraint, for thinking he was invincible. Stan believed that life was a one-time experience. He lived by the motto, "You only live once," which fueled his reckless lifestyle. He assumed that death was simply the end, nothing more. But he was unaware of the judgment that awaited him after death, a reality he could no longer escape. His story is not unique. Countless lives have followed a similar path. And this is where the influence of Satan becomes clear. Satan understands that God has a special purpose for each generation. When he sees that God has plans to use people for good, he becomes desperate to destroy them before they realize their potential. This is why so many lives today are wasted, so many dreams shattered. It's a strategy to keep us from becoming the people God created us to be. Satan has destroyed lives through drugs, alcohol, and the empty promises of addiction. Many fall victim to these traps, thinking they will find comfort or excitement, only to end up empty and lost. When they pass from this life, Satan counts it as a victory. He's also devastated countless lives through crime and violence. People become ensnared in cycles of revenge, anger, and recklessness. Every life lost to violence is another battle Satan believes he's won. But why does he care? Because he knows his future is doomed. He knows that his destiny is the lake of fire, a fate he cannot escape. His only goal now is to take as many people with him as possible to lead others down the same dark path. That's why he encourages us to turn on each other, to harbor hate, and even to harm ourselves. He won't rest until every person is trapped in a web of sin, bound for a path that leads to destruction. Satan's goal is to make us like Stan, leading lives without purpose, enslaved to sin, and oblivious to the consequences. But we see through his plan, and we are rising against it. We're waking up to the reality that our true enemy is not each other. Our real adversary is the same enemy we've had since the beginning, the one who deceived humanity in the Garden of Eden, the Prince of Darkness. It's not by chance that every day we hear of another young life cut short, another tragic death, or another soul lost to despair. The surge in suicide rates and the prevalence of violence are all part of Satan's grand scheme to wipe out a generation he knows God intends to use for greatness. He fears what this generation can accomplish through God, and he will stop at nothing to prevent it. Yes, Satan has claimed many lives, and we have lost many battles, but he will not win this war. We are ambassadors of Christ, chosen for a higher purpose. We are awake to his schemes and committed to our mission of saving the lost. Our aim is to stop as many people as we can from ending up like Stan. We are on a mission to spread hope, love, and truth, fighting to bring light into places of darkness. With faith as our guide, we will stand strong against the forces that seek to destroy us and strive to rescue those still ensnared by Satan's lies.